Play.
Get ready. Storm mainland over Texas, blowing from the Voodoo Sea. Clouds turned gray and all the birds flew away. All the old folks were heard the sign say it's a big one, nothing like we've ever seen before. Lord, please love us and save us. We don't want the devil knocking at our door.
Welcome to the Cracker Culture Podcast on Smokin Joe Nation. I'm your host, Smokin Joe. Around here, we cut through the noise, call out the nonsense, and bring you the truth. Straight, unfiltered, and with a little bit of humor along the way. Let's fire it up, Ford. Today's show is brought to you by Farmer Joe's Fresh Market, located at 1401 Pine Island Road in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. Whether it's fresh produce, prime cuts of meat, or the best local specialties, Farmer Joe's has everything you need and more. Lee County's greatest grocery store. We also want to give a big shout out to International Marble, making custom marble dreams come true right here in Southwest Florida. For quality craftsmanship that lasts a lifetime, give them a call. That's International Marble, 239-878-2200, 239-878-2200. And joining us, veteran political commentator, attorney, businessman, author, and award-winning documentarian, Mr. Ford O'Connell. You can find Ford's work on FordO'Connell.com, follow him on X, and catch his analysis across the nation's top news outlets. So here's the scene. Trump hops into a patrol car, goes out to D.C., shows he's serious about crime. Meanwhile, the Democrats and the media, absolutely furious. Only in Washington could fighting the crime be controversial. Ford, if Trump cured cancer tomorrow, the media headline will be "Doctors Outraged by Trump's Attack on the Tumor Community."
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that's the hypocrisy of the whole situation. Donald Trump's point is very simple. He goes, how can the capital of the most advanced nation on earth be one of the most dangerous cities on earth? Let me put it this way. In Washington, D.C. has 3 times the homicides of Bogota, Colombia, the cocaine capital of the world. Think about that for a second. And all he's trying to do is bring down crime, and so far he's hit a home run. Carjackings are down 83%. Total crime's down somewhere between 20 and 30%, and that's only in less than 2 weeks. This is absolutely stunning. Crazier is something like 800 arrests. They've taken something like 100 illegal guns off the street. Now think about this for a minute. Democrats hate all guns, and the fact that he's taking illegal guns off the street and they're still mad. The bottom line is, there's no sanity in the Democratic Party because Trump is keeping Washington, D.C. safe, and they're mad about it.
Well, Ford, the Democrats are actually protesting law and order here. Is this one of those movements where Trump is showing real strength while the left looks completely out of touch, and it's defeating the Democrat Party more and more?
Absolutely. Whenever Donald Trump is talking about security and safety, he's winning. What's crazy about these protests, if you've ever been to Washington, D.C., it's a town that's 60 to 70% African-American / minority. So when you see something like 80, 90 people protesting J.D. Vance in Union Station, and they're all white, you know they're paid protesters. There is no way that everyone who's going to show up to a protest in Washington, D.C. is going to be white unless they're brought in.
Well, it was such a difference in D.C. I mean, I remember I was there in the 90s. It's a different world today than it was when I was there in the 90s.
It is. And, you know, the Democrats say, well, crime's gone down 30%, you know, or in a 30-year low. And I'll tell you, having worked in a couple of prosecutors' offices, I can reclassify crime and make the numbers say whatever. I will tell you it is more violent than ever. And I've been up in D.C. recently, and I will tell you there is not one homeless encampment in the entire Northwest quadrant. I don't think that's happened, at least certainly not in my lifetime. It's kind of impressive. And I think the reason why Democrats are going bonkers is because Trump's saying, wait a minute, if we can clean up crime in Washington, D.C., you know, basically by snapping our fingers, how come we can't do it in St. Louis? How come we can't do it in Oakland, in Baltimore, you name it? And the whole point is it's because Democratic policies have failed the American people because they treat the criminal like the victim and the victim like the criminal.
I couldn't agree more with that. The games the Democrat Party's playing, flipping back and forth on gun control, and good guns are bad, bad guns are good. It's insane. Well, Ford, speaking of games, let's talk maps. Redistricting battles in Texas and California, and Governor Harrell already dreaming about 2028.
Here's the craziest part about this entire redistricting battle. If you listen to the mainstream media, the legacy media, they will tell you when Democrats redistrict, it's to save democracy. And when Republicans redistrict, it is to destroy democracy. This is a vanity project for California Governor Gavin Newsom. And here's what's crazy that no one ever mentions in the media. And that is, let's say Texas, the map goes through and they pick up the 5 Republican seats. If California didn't make any changes whatsoever to its U.S. House seat map, it'd still be more gerrymandered than Texas with the new redistricting. That's the entire point. The Democrats have squeezed all the juice out of the redistricting lemon, and the only reason why they're mad is because Republicans are catching up.
Well, down in Texas, Republicans are trying to tighten up the maps, and out in California, Democrats are suddenly crying foul about maps that they drew. All in the middle of it all, Gavin Newsom's clearly itching for this 2028 run for president. He wants to be a president so badly, I half expect him to Photoshop himself on Mount Rushmore forward.
You wouldn't be wrong. I mean, he is the biggest snake oil salesman chameleon there is. And right now, he's actually the favorite to be the 2028 Democratic nominee. And what's crazy is it's all because Democrats have Trump derangement syndrome. If he says anything against Trump or anything against Republicans, they go, he's our hero. The problem is no one ever looks at the policies he's implemented in California, which, pardon my language, is a shithole, as Donald Trump would say, solely because he's destroyed one of the most beautiful places on earth.
I agree. Well, Ford, how much do these map fights really matter for Democrats' long game? Is Newsom just wasting our taxpayer money running a 4-year audition tape for president?
Yeah, he absolutely is. And the other thing is in California, it's not like Texas where the legislature can vote to do this, where it's legal and data driven and the right thing to do. California, they got to overcome a constitutional amendment, which means they have to have a special election in 2025 to take the will of the people away just for Gavin Newsom's vanity project. I'll say this, though, and most people don't know this, and that is if every Democrat-controlled state redistricted every seat and every Republican-controlled state redistricted every seat, the Republicans would actually gain 20 seats. See, the Democrats have been doing this for the last 20 years, and now that the Republicans are catching on, they're mad. That's the entire lesson here.
Well, while we're speaking of wasting money, let's talk about the $500 million fine against Trump that just went poof. So a New York appeals court just shredded that $500 million penalty against Trump. Gone. Like they wrote the case in crayon and glitter glue. At this point, lawfare against Trump feels less like justice and more like a bad late night sketch comedy.
You know, you're definitely whistling Dixie on that one. Let me say 2 things. First, legally about this, I still think the appeals court got it wrong. Yes, he never should have gotten a $500 million fine. It violates the 8th Amendment on excessive penalties. Any first-year law student could tell you that. The problem here is that only one judge on the appeals court said, you know what? Not only is the fine ridiculous, but he shouldn't even be held liable for a law that the attorney general abused. This New York executive law that everyone talks about, it is meant to wrong economic harms, not to be used for political purposes. And unfortunately, Lady Justice is still sad because the New York appeals court did what was obvious and didn't still get the law right.
Well, Ford, I had to ask you, is this the beginning of the end for the Democrats' legal warfare strategy, or are they just going to keep throwing spaghetti against the wall, hoping something sticks?
They're going to keep throwing spaghetti against the wall because the ends justify the means, and orange man bad, so it's okay to destroy our constitutional republic and our laws, which is what separates us from every other nation on earth. That's where the Democrats are. I mean, I'm surprised right now that the Democratic Party isn't siding with the Chinese Communist Party because in their mind, the worst thing on earth are Republicans.
Yeah, and while Trump keeps winning in court, Adam Schiff and the Fed are making headlines of their own, and not the good kind. Adam Schiff has now set up a legal defense fund. That's how you know a politician's guilty, Ford, when they hire a lawyer before they've even been accused of it. And over at the Fed, Lisa Cook, and a little known Lisa Cook to most people, is facing allegations of mortgage fraud. The Democrats promised the most ethical administration in history. Well, if this is ethics, then Hunter Biden's laptop was just a typewriter. What say you, Ford?
That's exactly right. For 4 years, Democrats lectured America that no one's above the law. And lo and behold, California Senator Adam Schiff is being investigated for mortgage fraud. This guy is claiming that he's got 2 primary residences for a family of 4, a house in Maryland and a 700 square foot condo in Burbank, California. Now, Joe, I don't know how you can squeeze 4 people into 700 feet. But the guy doesn't even live in California. He represents California. And that's not even his biggest problem. His biggest problem is that he knowingly broke the law to leak classified information for political purposes in an effort to harm the Trump administration and undermine the peaceful transfer of power. Let me tell you something. He's right to lawyer up, but mortgage fraud's the least of his problems. But the crazy one is this gal, Lisa Cook. For everyone to understand, she sits on the Fed board. The Fed board sets mortgage and interest rates, and she is basically cheating on her mortgage because she's the one who's setting the rates. I mean, it doesn't get any crazier than that. And let me tell you something, whether the allegations are true or not, she should be suspended. There is no way the fox should be guarding the hen house when it's the fox who's basically setting the interest rates.
100%. Ford, are these just isolated embarrassments, or do they expose a deeper rot in the Democratic Party that screams accountability but never seems to live by it?
Yeah, I think that's the point, because remember, the whole charge against Donald Trump was that he was basically trying to get favorable interest rates. And lo and behold, what we find out is the Democrats are projecting. Whenever they say Donald Trump's doing something, they in fact are doing it. But I think what should really piss off all voters is none of us, regardless of party, should be standing for public corruption. We should be against that and stamping it out. But again, we know all about public corruption in Lee County.
Absolutely. Well, so there you have it. Democrats defending criminals, Gavin Newsom dreaming of the White House, Trump scoring big wins in court, and Adam Schiff doing what Adam Schiff does best. Folks, it's only August. If this is the preseason, imagine what the playoffs going to look like.
Yeah, I think my hair will be turning gray by then, because this is absolutely insane. But once again, it's okay because Donald Trump is bad, according to the Democrats. Think about that for a second. It's okay to break every rule, every value, every virtue, as long as I stop the guy who's fighting crime in D.C., protecting American workers' jobs, and securing our border, and trying to bring peace to the world. But somehow he's bad because he is a Republican and his last name is Trump.
It's incredible. Well, Ford, you know what time it is. Welcome to the man's trash. Now, we dig through the dumpster of headlines, what's rotten, what's recycled, and what just plain stinks. Yeah, and the state of Florida. First up, a federal judge has halted construction of Alligator Alcatraz, a proposed federal detention center located in the Everglades, meant to house illegal immigrants. Some called it necessary, others inhumane. The judge, he slammed on the brakes. Here's the truth. We wouldn't even be debating detention centers in the swamp if it weren't for Joe Biden's open border policy disaster. Millions crossing with no accountability, communities overwhelmed, states left holding the bag. This is Biden's mess, plain and simple. And I'll tell you what, Trump has already made it clear. He intends to clean this up, secure the border, enforce the law, and stop sticking Floridians with Washington's failures.
Bingo. Here's the deal. It is Biden's problem. But remember, Democrats and the legacy media told us we had to pass comprehensive immigration reform to fix the problem. Guess what? Donald Trump's given us the most secure border in American history with no new laws. So all you actually had to do was enforce the laws on the books. And this judge is trying to shut down Alligator Alcatraz, hat tip Ron DeSantis for actually brilliant branding there, is an activist judge. She's basically saying, well, the sewage is the problem, except this has been zoned for this runway for decades. And somehow now all of a sudden, because illegal aliens are being detained there to be deported, it's wrong. I mean, this is the problem. I mean, it's not just the politicians that are screwing you. It's the fact that the judges aren't even upholding the law, and certainly not the laws on the books that were passed by Congress. That is the most amazing thing. Deporting illegal aliens is Title VIII of the United States Code, but somehow federal judges pretend that that doesn't exist, even though it was ratified by Congress and signed by the President of the United States.
Well, and I know a lot of the indigenous people here, they take this as a win, and I understand it, Ford. I was raised right here myself, and I understand that, Dave Shealy, who is he runs Skunk Ape headquarters. His father donated that land, and his father had a deal with the government about the use of it, and I think that's what the judge is standing on. But I still go back to what I've said in previous shows. This is a temporary structure to fix a needed, necessary, immediate problem.
I agree with you, but let me tell you this. They're going to put a new one up around Jacksonville, call it the Deportation Depot. Mm-hmm. Now, we're talking about the Everglades, and don't lose sight of that. I hear your point. But at the same time, when they put this new one up in Jacksonville, they're going to try to shut it down for all the same reasons. And there is no Everglades. There are no indigenous people. This is all about thwarting the law and the will of the people. I mean, what country on earth is going to say, please, let's import 20 million people who we don't know who the hell they are. And by the way, when they rape, kill, and do whatever, we shouldn't deport them. And not only that, people seem to forget that coming here illegally is a crime. You are trespassing. You are driving down wages. You are hurting American jobs. Now, should we fix the visa system? Absolutely. But at some point, we actually have to have some accountability and protect American citizens and green card holders.
Well, Ford, if this keeps up, the Gators might start asking for a border wall and, of their own. And between trusting the Gator and the politician, I'm going to go with the Gator.
I'm going to go with the Gator, too, because at least I know what the Gator wants to eat.
Well, now, Ford, do you think this judge's ruling will actually kill Alligator Alcatraz? I know that I've seen several things where DeSantis' team said it ain't going to happen. We're going to appeal this and we're going to go forward. What do you think, Ford? I
think they're going to be tied up in court, but absolutely Alligator Alcatraz isn't going away. And it's not just Ron DeSantis. People say, oh, it's DeSantis' ego. No, Donald Trump and Tom Homan have made the exact same point. Okay, and remember, Florida agrees with Trump, and somehow you're still having federal judges arguing that the law isn't the law. There's an absurdity here that goes way beyond illegal migration. It goes to the fact that judges just decide which laws they want to uphold and which laws they don't want to uphold. And unfortunately, that's not equality under the law. And when that happens, it's bad for everyone. Remember, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. But somehow, federal judges that have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution failed to do it at every single turn when it comes to illegal migration.
Yeah, I agree. I'd see both sides. I've told you this before, but our biggest problem right now is the deportation of illegal immigrants. And I think that for the next year or 2 years, that needs to be a focus that everybody needs to back until we gain control of our own country.
Bingo. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, you're really hitting a home run today, Joe. That is a big problem. And I don't think a lot of people understand, because remember, the people that are saying, well, it's not wrong to come here illegally, or we shouldn't abide by the laws. These are the very people that don't have to live with the consequences of their choices, the elites. See, when you say we're going to not detain, illegal immigrant sex offenders, you're hurting the middle class. You're hurting rural America. You're hurting Main Street, because the elites can live in their little head and their policies, but it's actually the average man and woman that has to live with the consequences of these failed policies. They're hurting the average American every single time they block the deportation of illegal migrants.
Yeah, Well,
And not only that, wait, they're also hurting the migrants themselves, because if migrants believe that they can come here illegally, they're going to take that trek, they're going to get themselves killed. I mean, that's the problem. Is not only you're hurting America, not only you're hurting American citizens, but you're hurting the migrants themselves, because you're saying, hey, take a dangerous trip across the desert in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. And I mean, the cartels, they don't care. The people are as disposable as razors. Okay. And unfortunately, you got little kids dying, you got parents dying, families separated, all because the Democrats somehow believe it's okay to break our laws.
Well, and again, a lot of people said it's so bad. Look at them ripping these families apart and stuff like that. But I'm going to just tell you, it's no different if somebody raped somebody, robbed somebody, done anything. They committed a crime. They are going to be ripped from their families one way or the other if they commit a crime. And every one of these people being deported have committed a crime, whether you justify it in any way. They broke the law and they have to pay. And their penalty, instead of spending their life in prison here, they're going back home. I'd gladly take that deal.
That's correct. And what's crazy is people seem to forget. If you got pulled over tomorrow, Joe, you don't drink, but if you got pulled over tomorrow for DUI, you'd be separated from your family.
100%.
That's the entire point. It doesn't matter if you're an illegal migrant. And not only that, part of the reason why illegal migrants, they separate the children from the families is because if you put them all in the same detention center, you're going to start having people diddling little kids. And that's the problem. That's why, in many cases, they are separated. Is yes, you'd be separated as an American citizen if you commit a crime from your own family. But further, they're actually protecting the kids from sexual predators. You think just because they're illegal migrants, there aren't sexual predators? Of course there are. We saw this with Ilian Gonzalez way back in the 90s and early 2000s down in Miami.
No, I agree. Well, I'm going to move to our next story. Harinder Singh, and I probably just butchered that name. He's the illegal immigrant truck driver accused of killing 3 people on Florida highway. He fled to the sanctuary state of California, and he was brought back here to face charges. Just hours later, the Trump administration announced he was halting all work visas for commercial truck drivers. Now, Ford, let's just be real here. This tragedy would have never happened. Weak immigration enforcement, sanctuary states shielding people who shouldn't even be here. That's Biden's America. Meanwhile, Trump's team is stepping up, saying enough is enough. No more giving away work visas while Americans are out of jobs and families are grieving because of crime that never had to happen. Ford, this is insane. If you can go to California and get a commercial driver's license and you have a actual deadly weapon in your hands.
First of all, look, our hearts go out to the families of the 3 people who died. This tragedy was easily avoidable. And you see no remorse from Democrats, no remorse from California. What's crazy here is not only did this person get a commercial driver's license in California, I believe they also did in Washington State, another sanctuary city. You know what's crazy, and it's truly sad, is forget illegals and forget driver's licenses that they shouldn't have had in the first place. This guy was still given a commercial license after it was proven he couldn't read stop signs. Now, what the hell are you driving something that big and you can't even read the stop sign? This is bound to happen. And sadly, I'm surprised he didn't kill more people. I mean, not only is it illegal, not only should he have not gotten the driver's license, even if he did have a driver's license and he was an American citizen, he still couldn't read the signs.
Well, Ford, I've driven semis. I've seen some scary truckers on the highways, but most of them ain't dodging ice while hauling 80,000 pounds of freight. Highways are dangerous enough without turning them into sanctuary systems on wheels.
And those are deadly weapons. That's the thing that most people don't realize. I mean, those truckers, you know what one of my favorite things is to watch that ice road truckers in Alaska. I don't know how the hell those guys get that thing. It's like a high wire act. And now I got someone who can't read is going to drive one of these things up and down a Florida highway. You got to be kidding me. It's a recipe for disaster. And again, I hate to say it, Trump's right. You need to review every single commercial trucking application, because the reason why a lot of these trucking companies hire illegals over American citizens is because it's cheaper for them. And yet they're going to kill people as well.
Well, Ford, do you see the visas? Ford, do you see the visa freeze as a serious fix or just the first step in undoing Biden's border blunders?
I see it as a first step. Unfortunately, by the time Trump gets to the bottom of it, I mean, we can only hope J.D. Vance or whomever succeeds Trump, because the Democrats will just turn a blind eye and somehow blame it on climate change the next time an illegal alien runs over a U.S. citizen with a truck that they shouldn't be driving from a license they should have never gotten from California.
It's unbelievable. I mean, like I said, and I know how hard it is to get a commercial driver's license. I held one until after I had my 7th heart attack. I mean, and I had enough sense to know I wasn't going to take that chance on the road.
Well, yeah, but you can also read the signs even after the 7th heart attack. That's the key here.
100%. Well, let's move closer to home, Ford. Superintendent Denise Carlin promised a certified teacher in every classroom, a driver for every bus. Sounds fine on paper, but reality, kids standing at bus stops at 3:45 a.m., classrooms overcrowded, buses never showing up, parents say it's chaos, and teachers are burning out. Ford, this is government at its worst. Overpromise, underdeliver, and then expect the taxpayers to smile and say thank you. It's the same playbook as D.C. Make promises you can't keep, and then call it progress. But parents and taxpayers aren't buying it no more, Ford.
I hope you're right, because unfortunately the greatest scandal in Lee County is the fact that Lee County schools are under serving Lee County. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is the next school board, the next time we have a superintendent, they're going to say all the right things and then do all the wrong things. Unfortunately, we've seen this play over and over, and I'm just hoping that the citizens of Lee County, the voters of Lee counties, stand up. But unfortunately, you almost have to blame the voters for the problem that we're seeing with the schools, because essentially it just keeps happening. And every single time you have a new superintendent or a new school board, everything continues to get worse.
Well, again, I agree with you to one point, but you can't blame the voters of Lee County because their vote don't count. It's whoever Terry chooses. Terry Miller is going to decide who gets in the office. You can vote. Everybody in the county can vote for who they want. But it ultimately goes down to the Millerite.
Well, you're right about the Millerites. I should have prefaced that beforehand, but still, the voters, that's the greatest trick that Terry Miller's played, is that the voters don't know who Terry Miller is. That's the whole problem here. And essentially, that's how the Millerites run roughshod over Lee County. So, I mean, I hear your point that Terry Miller's the villain, but at the same time, though, you have to recognize at what point are the voters going to wake up to understanding who the villain is in Lee County.
Well, I stressed, me and you talked about this, an elected superintendent was the worst mistake Lee County could have ever done. They done the elected superintendent, and who really feels how bad a decision that was is Alva. Right now, the people in Alva are just being laughed at, smacked in the face. They formed Alva Inc. They're going to these meetings every time that the school board gives them one a month or whatever, 2 a month. They're going and trying to get their 3 minutes. And basically, school board member Melissa Giovanelli said the school's coming, like it or not. If you don't like it, you can move. And I'm a realtor. She said it at the school board meeting. Told these people if they didn't like the school coming there, they could move, and she's a realtor, so I guess she'll help you sell your property.
And what's crazy is Alva is one of the most special places in Lee County. It's a place that really, patrols itself. It's got good people, and unfortunately, what's happening in Lee County, the bad parts, is what's going to destroy Alva at the end of the day. And it's truly unfortunate. And I can't believe someone could be so flippant as to say, well, if you don't like it, I can help you sell your house. I mean, frankly, she should be thrown out just for that comment.
It's unbelievable. Maybe Denise Carlin and the armored person, them should ride along those 4 a.m. routes. Nothing like waiting in the dark with mosquitoes big enough to carry you off and rethink your press releases.
Those mosquitoes are big. That is true.
Well, Ford, I just can't help believe this is incompetence. Or is it the district is just so disconnected from reality? They don't care what the parents and kids are dealing with.
I think they're disconnected. They're just checking boxes, and they just want to be in public office to, get a paycheck. I mean, that's really what's going on here. And unfortunately, and I've said this for years, the biggest problem is that Lee County in the heyday of Southwest Florida only goes as far as our schools take the kids, and unfortunately, they're letting the kids down. How is it that we spend this much money in Lee County, and we got 67 counties in the state of Florida, and somehow Lee County consistently ranks at the bottom when it comes to education? It's a complete and utter travesty, and probably one of the biggest scandals in state history.
Well, I agree, and we're just going to have to hope that. I would love to see DeSantis or somebody step in and in Lee County, especially in the school district. But I'm going to move along. Our final story of the show, we're going to talk about Thursday night. East Lee County Republican Club held their meeting. Their guest speaker was Christy Houlihan, the school district's government relations director. She got hit with some tough questions. Some wasn't so tough. But her response, folks could just email her. She couldn't answer a lot of the questions that the folks, and a lot of them were Alva folks, so they just couldn't answer some of the questions. I thought some of them were basic. But, and I think they got her speaking again. I had several people request for me to go, and I wasn't able to attend. But, it was pretty fiery. But I think if you're going to have somebody that is your government relations director, if she comes out and speak, she should do better than the Jen Psaki, I'll circle back.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, how can you tell people, oh, just email me? Are you serious? This is the time you should come prepared. I don't care if you're running for mosquito board, dog catcher, whatever the hell it is. You got to come prepared. And the fact that you don't is, again, a slap in the face. And frankly, it's symbolic of the way that public service works in Lee County. Everyone wins who's in public service except for the people of Lee County. And I think that's a great example. And I'm really worried because I told you, when it comes to Alva, I had a special place in my heart. It is one of the last homespun communities in Lee County. And unfortunately, it's going to be destroyed because of government scandal and, frankly, flat out incompetence. I mean, half the problem is that sometimes I think to myself, some of the public servants in Lee County, are they really just trying to be bad and steal and do this and do that? And then I realize I don't know where the incompetence begins and the fraud ends. I mean, half the time they do bad stuff because they're just stupid.
Well, and our favorite person, Armored Persons, was there at this meeting at the East Lee County Republican event. He's the board member that keeps claiming he lobbied and secured $40 million in federal funding, and he has seemed that he done it for Lee County. Turns out that money was for every district across Florida, not just Lee County. That's a minimal amount. $40 million across 60-some districts forward. That's not a big score for Lee County.
You're right. Whatever Lee County got, remember this, okay? Let's just say it's, I don't know, $500,000, okay? I promise you, the district that Armour represents, District 5, got the least amount within the school districts. That is what's so amazing here. It doesn't even matter the amount. I just promise you, what the district Armour represents got screwed the most out of the districts in Lee County.
Well, Houlihan confirmed this to the attendees that money wasn't just for Lee County, and Armour was present when she done it. So, Armour's been padding his resume with half-truths, and the community's catching on. This is the problem with career politicians, Ford. They think people aren't paying attention, but parents are fed up, taxpayers are fed up, and when you lose the trust of the people, you've lost everything, Ford.
That's exactly right. But let's remember, it's not just Armour. Doesn't he have a daughter? Doesn't he have a son-in-law? Isn't this aren't they all just kind of running Lee County right into the ground? Is it me or am I wrong in this point?
It's a lot of control for one family. I mean, you got a state representative, a commissioner, and a school board member. That's a lot of control, man. You pretty much got them across the board.
That, and I've told you, between the school board and the county commissioners, that's the most. And let's be honest, Jenna, the daughter, even though she's one of 140 or 120 in the state house, she's still pretty powerful in that state house. And this is the best we can do in Lee County.
It's ridiculous. And, Armour's just told so many tall tales. Even I think Pinocchio is filing for trademark complaint. And I'll say it again for the folks in the back. Anybody but Armour. ABA, like Ford said, anybody but Armour.
You still love that, huh? Anybody but Armour. I think, though, it's not just Pinocchio. Imagine Pinocchio in Foghorn Leghorn. Look at that rooster with that nose going out. There you go. That's exactly how Armour sounds. He's going to give John Kennedy a run for his money when it comes to talking, because I'm not sure that he can put 2 cents straight.
Well, Ford, this is a district that's just got too used to ducking accountability. That's all it is.
It's unfortunate. And I just hope that one day you're going to elect people that are going to be able to overcome the Millerites and do right by Lee County. That's my hope. And I hope I see it before I die.
Well, Ford, we're going to wrap it up. I want to tell the folks, I'm going to have another show coming out called Dissecting the District. I'm going to have India Palencia on this show and maybe some others. I know that the head of the teachers union did reach out to me and wanted to come on the show, but he has not confirmed yet. But I am going to do another show pretty much soon after this one, and I hope you folks will join in, and we'll get down to some numbers and break down what's really going on in the district and let you know what Denise Carlin and the rest of the school board doesn't want you to know. Ford, what do you got going on? Anything coming up?
All I know is we're coming up here on Labor Day, and it's the best time of year. College football, high school football, pro football. What's sad is every time we get towards Christmas time, I start crying because football is going to start ending. And the fall is the best time. Let's just hope we get through hurricane season safe.
100%. And that, folks, is this week's Load of the Man's Trash. Politics may stink, but at least we can laugh while we're taking out the garbage. Until next time, love, peace, and Gator Grease.